Hello, my name is Samantha Kloppy, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my summer as at my aquarium internship. So, at my aquarium, I was what we called an edutainment host, which basically is similar to an education host, which you might have heard the term for, but we have that extra entertainment added on there because that was something that our attraction really focused on was the entertainment of guests, because we really are focused on guests enjoying their experience there and all these other things. But to get right into it, so my basic role there was to inform guests about the animals, but we also want to keep them entertained. So I made everything entertaining, trying to make sure everyone had a good time. Something that we really stressed this summer was making sure we had accurate information that we were giving to our guests. So you'll hear me do it, at least in this presentation, more like most likely more than once. But sometimes when people are speaking, they are going to stumble over their words. And it's really important that, sometimes you're going to stumble over your words, catch yourself. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to say, I misspoke and repeat yourself in a correct way because sometimes you're going to say things wrong, like instead of young turtles eat jellyfish, you might say our turtles eat jellyfish, which is something we had to correct ourselves on over the summer. Our turtles did not eat jellyfish, but young turtles did. So sometimes people misspoke. It's okay to catch yourself. And sometimes you don't even realize it until somebody asks you for further clarification on something. But it's okay to be wrong every now and then. Just catch yourself because you want to make sure that when someone leaves a conversation with you, that they have everything correct, at least to your understanding of it. Because if they're curious, they're going to go and look for it. They're going to research more about what you've been talking to them about, if it was a good conversation. So that's something that we really stressed about during the summer was we wanted to make sure the information we were giving to guests was accurate. If we didn't know if it was accurate, we shouldn't talk about it because you don't want to give guests the wrong impression when they go to look for more information and they find something different than what you might be saying because there's also going to be different answers to different questions varying on different sources and it's a whole big mess. So it's better to just make sure you give correct information. If you don't know the information, you can also say things around the lines of the topics you do know is you can guesstimate and compare it to the knowledge you do know. Be okay with, I don't know the answer to that and give your best guess, but don't make things up. Um, so kind of a little side thing, just try to be accurate when you talk to people. And if you have like a speech, like if you have something that you're going for that has an order, it has a beginning and an end, sometimes you might have a hard time. You'll get that beginning down. And as you start to get like, if you have a time limit, I had a time limit for some of the speeches I was supposed to give. It was supposed to be about 7 minutes, like to the dot. And so something that was really hard for me to do is I could start off my speeches and I would get about 3 or 4 minutes in and I would completely blank on anything else. So what I started practicing from the advice of my boss was to practice it backwards. Start at your conclusion and then get all the other facts in the middle that you might have missed rather than starting at the beginning, going all the way to the end. Because if you keep doing that, your beginning is going to get stronger, but your end is going to keep getting weaker. So if you practice beginning to end to beginning, back and forth, that's more likely to get you a well-rounded picture. And that's something that's also good for guests because if your knowledge is well-rounded, you can help them have more well-rounded knowledge to leave your attraction with or anything else. Like if you're giving a research presentation, rounding off your knowledge is going to help that for others. And if you need to make it visual because you're going to learn different ways than some other people. I realized I can make a bubble map of my topics and spread out. So if I was over here, I have topics over here. If I was over here, I had topics over here I could talk about. And so you have to make sure you know your knowledge in a well-rounded way to get that across to others. And then you have to give more than 100% because you never know the situation someone's going to be in when they come to talk to you. You don't know if someone's had a bad day. You don't know if they're really not interested in anything you have to talk about. But if you're giving more than 100%, more likely than not, they are going to start to get closer to your level. And that is how you give guests a good interaction. That's how you just help other people have a good day. That's kind of something I see as more of a philosophy as well for my own life is if you give 100%, more than 100%, or if you try to see things in a better light than maybe they actually are, then more likely than not, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna have a good time. The people you're talking to are gonna have a good time. So you might as well. But something else that was really important about my job is I was there to protect the animals, and it can be hard to set boundaries with strangers. So as you can see here, I'm telling these people how to touch the animals, but I'm the protector of those animals. I have to tell them you have to be gentle. You have to touch a certain way. You have to make sure that the animals are going to be safe. There's also instances where you might see someone in a dark area using their flash. You have to tell them to turn their flash off. But something that can be hard is telling people no. And even if you are telling people no, if you're okay with that, they might not always listen to you. So something that our boss helped us with is giving us action items. So if someone is being rough with an animal, we tell them, instead of no, don't do that, you're going to say, touch the animal like this. If you tell them what to do, they're more likely to do it. So if they have their flash on, don't have your flash on. Instead, you're going to say, turn your flash off. If you give them a thing, that's what their mind is going to go to next. Instead of no flash, most likely they're gonna put their phone away. Please turn your flash off. They're gonna turn their flash off and keep taking pictures. They're still gonna have a positive experience. Moving on. So something that was just kind of big for me this entire summer was being comfortable being uncomfortable. So this means you're more likely than not, you will need to ask for advice on things, and that can be hard. You don't know where you need advice, so sometimes you have to also just be open to criticism. Those two kind of go together. So you're probably going to have people that are going to watch you give presentations or things like that. And there's a whole bunch of different instances where you might be in a situation where someone is going to tell you that you're doing something wrong or you need work doing this or that, and you have to be okay with things like that. And if you want to get better at something, you have to work with being wrong. You have to work on getting better. You have to be okay not being okay at something so that you can eventually become okay, eventually become good, become great. So, um, that's something that I do encourage you to try. I was reluctant to take the advice of my boss, like bring a whole bunch of little artifacts to talk about because I don't feel comfortable bringing more things than I can hold in my hands because I don't want someone to take that away from me because some kids are handsy. But I learned to be okay with that, and because of that, I had a lot of great interactions with guests where they would come up. I did have handsy folks, that happens, but I had a lot of great interactions with other guests where they would come up and ask me about the other artifacts, which also helps me move guests throughout because I can say, "Oh, this is from an animal upstairs, go upstairs to see it," or different things like that. You have to be okay following advice, be open to it, because you never know what the response is gonna be, what the reaction will be, because you won't know unless you try. And so I also wanna say stick things out, try new things. So this is a picture of me snorkeling, and I did not do this for my aquarium internship, I wish, but I was uncomfortable. I have asthma. I was uncomfortable diving down with my head under the water, not being able to breathe. And eventually realized I'm not going to enjoy things unless I try this, unless I try to get comfortable with this. So I eventually just had to do it. And so if you want to get better, try things out, stick out the new things. You never know what you're going to enjoy unless you try it. So you might as well. So anyways, I just want to say thank you for listening to my presentation. It was a little long, but I hope you learned a few things about my experience at my internship, and I hope you can in turn try new things, enjoy new things that you're doing, or possibly just make your talks better, make your presentations more well-rounded so that way you can have a better influence on the people you're talking to. But anyways, I hope you have a great day, week, semester.